Thank you very much, and also I would like to thank you for the invitation, especially to discuss this topic of regional role and responsibility of the National Science Museum. Now, what I would be discussing today is as I was at the Chemical Institute, I have done my research there, and I have also been doing a lot of work in the field of science, also coming to this institute. And then now I would just like to link my thinking and ideas on how we can further promote the role and responsibilities of the National Science Museum. Now, just now, the curator, Shin, has given us a very interesting presentation. So she talked about the origin of the Nsm. And actually, I looked through the website, and then there is the year 49, and then year 62. I must say that I was a bit confused. So I was thinking, which could be the real origin. But anyways, thank you very much for the explanation. So yes, I got it now. But of course, for us to really establish the history still remains to be done. But what is important is that now it had been relocated to Daejeon in 1990 to be housed in the Daejeon Innopolis. And also Daejeon Innopolis is also globally active, and that is why I believe that they also began this symposium in 2010. And also the fact that it has been conducted annually without a miss for 10 years, that is also extraordinary. And then the fact that it is also coinciding with the 30th anniversary of its move to Daejeon Innopolis, I believe that it makes it all the more special. And also what is important is that, yes, of course, there is the Snsm, but then there's also the National Museum of Korea and also the other types of, for example, the science museums in other localities. So not only the National Science Museum, but also the local science museums as well. And then also, as it welcomes its 30th year, I see that it has ongoing and even more vibrant communication with the local government of Daejeon. And also in its communication, I can see that it continues to think about the kind of role that it can play in this community, in this city. Now, of course, more recently, the path of technological development is moving toward convergence. And of course, museum is a place where we do just that. We have convergence and we have communication of such convergence. And also the Daejeon Innopolis now will be welcoming its 50th anniversary in the next 3 years. So now it is also undergoing the Daejeon Innopolis renovation project, and at the heart of this renovation is convergence and also local projects related to the Chungcheong province and the Daejeon city. So again, it's about breaking down boundaries. So I would say that the Snsm also has to break down the boundaries and also further converge itself into the Daejeon Innopolis and with the city of Daejeon. So I believe that that is why we can say that we are standing at the crossroads or at transition, and it is based on that background that I have also prepared this presentation. And I believe that we, of course, have to focus on the area of science and also its importance in this region. Now, the Daejeon Innopolis, when it first started, it was just a national research complex, but then now, in the 2000s, now it became the Daejeon Innopolis and also housing businesses which are from the local area. So then, from a research complex, it has developed into more of an R&D complex, and also combining with the business complex, industrial complex. And also now in the current government, now so as part of the national agenda, Daejeon has been designated as the special city of the fourth industrial revolution, and then also the science business belt has been initiated, which includes not only the city of Daejeon, but also the Cheonan, Oseong, Ochang, Cheongju. So indeed, a belt So then the regional boundary of the Daejeon Innopolis has been going away, and then also we see that the convergence of Daejeon Innopolis is also underway very rapidly. And at the heart of it all is the fourth industrial revolution, innovation, and so forth. And amidst all this, I believe that the NSM can play the role of a catalyst of such convergence. And I believe that it can play a leading role in such convergence and breaking down boundaries. And now when we think about the science culture that we see plentiful here is that now when it comes to value of science culture, then we often think about objectivity, independence, creativity, evidence-based research. So if we are to apply the values of science to policy making, then we can also ensure rationality. So let's say, if we are turning like the society or also policy making into science, then again, this kind of a science culture will be very important. Then also for the scientific researchers, why they do research. Now, in order to find solutions to the world's problems, or to win the next research grant. So between these two types of thinkings, I would say that what they do and also the outcome are also going to be quite important. So because of that, the science culture itself is very important. And also, again, the science culture itself is turning into culture. In other words, just like music, art, concert, or films, people are beginning more and more to enjoy science as it is. And also, we are now seeing the growth of citizen science, where the citizens are becoming more engaged in scientific research. And the students, the citizens, and to the societies. Now, this kind of science culture also gives them points for them the way to the future. Then how are we going to spread this science culture, and how are we going to put this into a better structure? So that is why I had been thinking about what I call the science culture platform. So this is something that I have designed, and I'm still thinking about this. But then, now in the science culture platform, we need to first have values. In other words, why we do science, why we need to apply science into our society, into our everyday lives, into politics, and why do I believe that if we apply science, then we can have a more rational discussion, and also how we can resolve the world's and the humankind's problems utilizing science. So it's more about the why science exists. So value would be one important part of this platform. And second is the science education. Now, when we think about science education, then in a narrow sense, it might sound like just developing the next generation of scientists. But not only that, now to provide science education from when young to enhance their scientific creativity and innovation, and also to improve their communication in a more scientific manner, and also even in adulthood, to continue to learn about science, to maintain their interest in science so that they will be able to apply scientific principles into their everyday life. So the entire process is very important. And I would say that the NSM can and should be the forum of such communication and learning. And that is why we have to think about the science culture and also exhibitions. Now, exhibitions should no longer just be putting things in a certain place and asking people to come and see. Now, the exhibitions can be done on a remote area. So, for example, remotely, and it can also be connected to like the rural areas as well. So it does not have to be limited to the physical space. So we also have to keep developing the exhibitions in a way that would know no limits. And also, more recently, science is being converged into art, and that is why the science art is also gaining a lot of attention. And now for all of them to be sustainable, we also need to have the infrastructure for the science culture. And I would say that the NSM is one key infrastructure. And not only that, we can also have different types of programs in the infrastructure. So again, if we are to have this platform approach to science culture, then it becomes immediately evident that we can involve many more stakeholders and many more participants so that we can all move toward a better future for science. So I have listed these elements of platform in number, and if we link them all together, then they can create this science culture platform. So for example, the science culture value, how we can promote the values. Then for example, the Daejeon Innopolis and the Daejeon city, or also inside the Daejeon Innopolis between the academia and the research centers and the businesses, I see that the collaboration and the cooperation are getting stronger. So that is also the value of science culture. So, and also such collaboration can be for R&D, for the industry, or also for profits even. But not only that, but also to find solutions to people's problems. So for example, problems that cause discomfort to the people or problems that the socially disadvantaged are feeling. So there are growing calls for such outcome of industrial, academic, and business collaboration to be used as solutions to our social and global ills. So for example, the climate change, how we can fight climate change with scientific development. So for example, the UN SDGs. So perhaps the SDGs can be achieved partly by utilizing science. So there is such a growing mindset and growing calls to do that. And also the Living Net project, where the local residents will take part in the scientific research to find solutions to their local problems. And also in that course, they can learn that, the science is no longer just an exclusive domain of the scientists or the researchers, but we can also do this. So let's do this. And we would also like to meet up with the researchers so that we can work together. And also at the Daejeon Innopolis, one good thing is that we have a lot of international cooperation. So for example, this symposium, which is in its 10th installment this year. So as the value of science culture continues to spread, then how the NSM is going to link itself to them, or how it is going to help further drive such a spread of the values. And now, second element, the science education becoming more and more important, because we see that the science education to young students is becoming more important in schools, and also the scientists are doing a lot of talent donation, for example, providing their public lectures and also mentorship. They also get a lot of media exposure, and also even for young children. So for young children's education, now they are also incorporating scientific elements to make it more interesting. And also the science exhibitions, we see that the exhibitions are increasing. And also the NSM programs, as well as the National Museum of Korea. Now they also have a lot of exhibitions that also incorporate elements of science. Then, so as we see the increase in exhibition space and also the exhibition contents, then how is the NSM going to accommodate them? And another thing that is important, and also where the NSM can play an important role, is the science art. So for example, Art in Space program. Now this is to have an encounter between the scientists and the artists. So this was also done by National Institute. Then also the Seoul Metropolitan Museum, they have also done something similar, where they put together the artists from Biennale and also scientists to discuss science and art together. And then also we see that many research institutes or even universities, now they are also providing space for such science art exhibitions and also creating a lot of programs. They also have the resident artists in the museum space to continue their collaboration. And also we see that many more institutes and museums are joining force. So this means that the city of Daejeon is seeing the enlargement of exhibition space and exhibition content that is not seen anywhere else in Korea. So again, the important question is then what the NSM can do amongst these changes in order to further help drive such change. Now then, what I would like to discuss next is about the NSM's role. In other words, perhaps it can play the role of a catalyst in furthering such convergence and also education. Because now when we see the different institutions in the Daejeon, then there is no place where we can learn about and see the history and the background of the Daejeon alone, the Daejeon itself. Now, each institution shows its own history, but not about the Daejeon itself. So, I believe that perhaps the NSM can provide such space to learn more about the Daejeon. And of course, it would also be important for people to come to the museum to view them. But then also the NSM can go to them. So perhaps it can go to remote areas to provide such exhibition. It can also do other types of science programs by going to them. So if they can do these activities, then I believe that the NSM can also play the leadership role in bringing science and scientific information to people. And also not just a student-centric museum, but also citizen-centric museum can be a possibility for them to have something like a Living Net program or urban regeneration program. And also the smart city. Let's say in our move towards smart city, maybe we can also make space for the citizens to participate. And of course, we have science communicators here as well. But then we can also plan together for the different work and the different roles that we can play and also the citizens can play. And by doing so, we can also have co-development with the citizens at the same time. And also the Daejeon research products or the research outcome, maybe the Science Museum can also play the role of a test bed, and because it has a very big strength as the convergent agent. So maybe the museum can play the role of such a testbed for the outcome of the Daejeon. And last suggestion is, now since we have this symposium, but now maybe we can also expand this and also link this to other events in the Daejeon. So for example, there is a science festival in the Daejeon. Perhaps it can also be linked to them so that it can be made larger and also become a festival for the Daejeon, not just on its own. And also when I go to like the UK or the Germany, then we see that whenever they have this kind of science festivals or events, then it's not just for the museum or the science center to do alone. I see that the entire cafes or the diners or the citizens, they all participate. And it turns into a local festival for all. So perhaps we can also make that happen. I believe that at least the city of Daejeon can do that. So if the NSM can play a more active role, then perhaps we can also start something similar. So that is all from